Ultimate Halo now has a Discord. Go to the description, join the community, and let's talk some Halo. You could argue that Bungie were the first studio to really make it so that you knew the developers, and back in the day they were one of the first studios to really give you an insight into their creative processes, their journey, and in my eyes the most important thing, their personalities. And oh boy, were there some real personalities within the studio. You had Marty O'Donnell, Joe Staten, Jason Jones, and many more giving their thoughts and showing their, at times, humorous relationship with one another in their day-to-day lives. Over time, a lot of people who consumed this media, I would say, really ended up seeing these people as celebrities. Millions of people have seen their work, heard their names, and possibly watched them talk Halo, which got me thinking. Celebrities and famous people kind of go hand in hand because Halo has had some incredible talent involved in the franchise throughout the years. So sit back, relax and enjoy my top 7 famous celebrities who featured in Halo.
Ultimate Halo.
Hey up lads and lasses, Fletch here from Ultimate Halo. We are nearly at that 80,000 subscriber mark, so by subscribing and liking this video you are helping out the channel tremendously. And I'd also want to know in the comments section down below if any celebrity you like could appear in Halo Infinite, who would it be? For me it's a band called Neck Deep. I absolutely love them at the moment, so for them to be in some sort of music in Halo Infinite, that's just like the dream right now. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. First of all, how can I not make this list without the legendary Keith David? Now, typically speaking, I'm going to avoid voice actors and especially those in the video game breed, but this gentleman is the man who plays the Arbiter in the Halo games and has some iconic lines that he absolutely blows out of the water. Keith David is a very versatile actor. He's played in a lot of Disney films, Rick and Morty, but he's also played in blockbusters such as Armageddon, The Things and Chronicles of Riddick. Honestly, when it comes to acting and voice acting pedigree, Keith David is the man. I think we all know his voice and a lot of us know his name, but he's a true legend with the industry which I adore, and his impact on cartoons, film and video games makes him a worthy mention for this list. Next up on this list is a man from Irish descent, and no, it's not Uber Nick, he's Northern Irish, but instead we have a late night talk show host who also wrote some of the most influential and iconic Simpsons episodes ever to air on television. The man we are talking about is Conan O'Brien, and honestly when I first saw 343 were bringing him on board to make a cameo with Halo 4 and his partner Andy Richter, I was ecstatic. Back in the early 2010s, Conan used to do a show called The Clueless Gamer which had him fumble his way through the latest games, but this time he actually got the chance to play as a Marine in charge of guarding boxes. Check it out.
This is a pretty sweet union we're in.
It's fantastic.
Stand near the crates, but don't ever move them.
Right? Right. But if anybody even looks at the crates, that's a violation.
At the time I found it absolutely hilarious and I find Conan an incredibly funny guy, although I was kind of worried when watching the clip because prior to this I thought it might ruin my immersion, but you've kind of got to go out of your way and wait around a little bit before seeing Conan interact with Andy, and it's a fun little gag which almost reminds me of the red vs blue Easter egg in Halo 3 when they're on the other side of the door on Crow's Nest. Sadly we haven't had anything like this since, and I'd love for there to be some sort of cameo in Halo Infinite, even if it's a community member, red versus blue, or just anything. I love hunting for Easter eggs and even hidden dialogue. It's a great feature to really increase the replay value of any game. Next up on this list is actually a band that came out with an absolute banger of a song in 2003 when Fletch was a ripe 8 years old. The music video was someone getting hit by a car, it was a hoax, and they started to rob a shop, and they did it whilst they faked the act. It made you realise that nobody is a perfect person. There's many things I wish I didn't do. You're damn right, it's the band HOOBASTANK. It was literally a week ago from uploading this video when I was listening to the Halo 2 soundtrack when scripting another video, as it helps me concentrate, and this song came on called Connected, and I was like, you know what, I've never actually heard this song before, but I recognise that voice. So it turns out HOOBASTANK made a song for the soundtrack of Halo 2, and it's a cool song and it has a very early 2000s vibe, and I'm kinda glad it wasn't in the game because it doesn't really fit tonally in any sense, but their style of pop rock doesn't really get your blood rushing through your veins, much like Breaking Benjamin's Blow Me Away. Now that stuff got your body pumping. Nonetheless, I think it was cool to find this out. It's actually hard to find any reason why they appeared in the soundtrack when searching the internet, but it exists, it's on the official soundtrack, and HOOBASTANK, what a nostalgia trip. Sometimes voice actors have very distinct voices, so much to the degree that it's easy to identify who they are immediately, but this one threw me completely off guard. Who knew the man who played this character,
Well, bite my shiny metal! Oh no!
played
Get everyone you can on that ring. Take it from the humans. Prove you are still worth your price.
Yes, that's correct. John DiMaggio is the man who played Bender from Futurama, and he also plays Atriox from Halo Wars 2, as well as the Brutes in Halo 3 and ODST. For those who did not know, he also plays Marcus Phoenix from the Gears of War franchise, and I was literally shocked when I found out. In retrospect, it kind of makes sense because of the depth of his voice and the rough way he projects his voice, but it completely threw me off. Now in my defense, there is a lot of modulation when it comes to the brute voices, and then when 343 come to mix the sounds of the characters such as the brutes, they will lower the pitch and add some other effects, so honestly, who knew? And if I'm honest, I think the next logical conclusion would be for 343 to have a reference with Atriox saying the following quotes.
Warning. You are now in forbidden space.
Forbidden schmirschmidden! What are they gonna do, write a letter? Ooh, I'm so scared!
I've lost control of the ship!
For the next pick, we actually need to take a step back because it was the 3rd of November 2014, exactly 8 days before the Master Chief Collection launched, and 343 made a full documentary on the development behind Halo 2 Anniversary. But to set the scene, they got some Bungie legends to return and tell stories and answer some questions. Of course, Marty O'Donnell was talking about his experience with writing the soundtrack for Halo 2 and various people involved in the development. Then he goes to say the following.
There's one other guitar player who was a huge fan of Halo and went outside of his agent. He went outside of everybody else. We didn't even bring it through Microsoft. I never got a contractual written permission to work with him. And that's John Mayer. John Mayer plays guitar on 2 very distinct pieces in Halo, and you hear it on the soundtrack.
At this point, I was literally wowed. Because I'm a huge John Mayer fan, I put a lot of time into learning his songs on guitar, whether it's his blues, rock or his country music. I absolutely love his stuff. And according to Marty, the only reason he decided to do it so he could tell his friends that he was playing in Halo 2. Looking back, it shocks me because you can actually hear it in the end credits, and the guitar soloing is distinctly John Mayer, but at the time I had zero idea, so this was a huge surprise to me, and I'm kind of upset with myself that I never figured it out, so I'm curious to know if you guys ever knew that prior to it happening. The preliminary pick on this list is another one that caught me off guard because I was also, funnily enough, watching the original Halo 2 Vidocs with the behind the scenes, which came with a limited edition quite a few years ago now, and sometimes you're watching something, you see a familiar face and you just need to rewind because you're sure of that person that you saw is someone you've seen at another time. Well, in this instance, that was definitely the case because it was early 2014 and it was the actress Laura Prepon. I started to watch Orange is the New Black. Eventually, I only ended up watching 2 seasons, but from what I did watch, I did really enjoy it. Then I'm watching the segment of the Vidoc where they're showing a whole array of fantastic voice actors, and lo and behold, there is Laura Prepon, who plays Alex Force in Orange is the New Black, and I just couldn't believe it. It's honestly incredible how many years you put into a game, and the same people end up being in a different TV show that you're watching. Laura ended up playing as a Marine in the Halo 2 campaign, and looking back I remember clearly her voice, especially going through the New Mombasa streets, and after a little bit of research it just seemed to be clearly in her very early days of her career, and she's now doing some great work, which is really cool to see. Does this man really need to provide any introduction for this next pick? Of course he doesn't. As always, Halo soundtrack is iconic, but with the man Steve Vai, we may not have heard the same killer electric guitar riff in quite the same way. Steve Vai is a 3-time Grammy Award winner and he's been nominated another 15 times. The story goes that Marty O'Donnell was in a meeting room at Microsoft when the legendary Nile Rodgers was in the room, and he was very interested in music for video games after hearing Maroon 5 play Combat Evolved when they should have been recording. Nile then went about setting up Steve Vai with Marty, and the rest, my friends, is absolute history. Well, some really cool famous people on this list, and hopefully more to come in Halo Infinite. I want to know in the comment section down below, who would you bring into Halo Infinite as a celebrity cameo? My name is Jack Fletcher, and I will see you next time on the one and the only Ultimate Halo.
Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.